Welcome everyone to the regular council session in the municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc on Monday, January 15th. And it's a great pleasure to see a full house here tonight. We'll get to that in a minute, but first the land acknowledgement. The municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc acknowledges that it is located on Treaty 21 territory. We are thankful to the generations of people who have taken care of this land, including the Chippewas of the Thames First Nation, the Munsee Delaware First Nation, and the United Nation of the Thames. Roll call. Everyone's here this evening. Clerk, I have a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting. Councillor Kennis, second by Deputy Mayor McGuire. All in favor? Carried. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Great, seeing none. Probably the highest award that our community has is our Medal of Distinction. The Medal of Distinction is intended to be the highest honor in this municipality, available to residents and or supporters of the Strathroy-Caradoc community. Tonight we're pleased to be joined by two individuals who represent two parts of that medal, one for volunteerism, the other for heroism. So without further ado, I'd like to call Mr. Ian Johnson forward. So I don't remember the Scout salute, but I certainly remember the Cub salute. But Ian is a long-time volunteer in scouting, and he's been able to combine his love for not only scouting but the environment, bring that forward to help with both of those endeavors. So Ian, without further ado, on behalf of the municipality, it's my pleasure to present you with the Medal of Distinction for 2024. 2023, I apologize.
Very good.
Thank you very much. Here, get a picture. Thank you. And I believe we have Rob Talik's here. You come up this way.
That's easier.
Pleasure. So I'm going to read this because this is pretty outstanding. I believe it was on December 6, 2022. You and your son were traveling on 402 and came across an accident that involved a tractor trailer. I believe you were able to extract the victim and you put the fire out. Something like that.
It always gets embellished at this.
Go with my version, but on behalf of the municipality, thank you very much. And just stay there for 1 minute. We have one more. And I hear your son Oscar is not here this evening, but
He's got an exam tomorrow.
okay, well, he should study, but we have a certificate for he also. You were the one nominated, but we know that your son helped out too. So on behalf of the municipality, give our thanks to your son Oscar. Thank you. And I will mention to everyone, there's a reception in the committee room, so if you're welcome to go there. If you wish, you can sit here and watch the workings of government.
Absolutely. It's all good.
Looks like a cup.
I thought that was going to take place.
regular council meeting.
There you go.
There are 2 minutes to be approved. One is the regular council meeting minutes of December 18th, 2023. A motion to receive those minutes. Councilor Brennan, second by Councilor Pelkman. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Special council meeting minutes of January 9th, 2024. Motion to carry those minutes. Councilor Kennis, seconder. Councilor Pelkman. Any concerns or questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. There are this evening 4 new notices of motion. We will deal with those at the next regular council meeting. Drainage matters. There are, I believe, three in front of us this evening. First is a consideration of the Ballantyne drain. Director Strauss, someone going to give an overview of the report?
Yes, thank you. Through the chair, with us tonight we have Mike DeVos from Spreed Associates who's going to present the report. So I'll turn it over to Mike.
Right there, good. Thank you. Good evening. This report for the Ballantyne drain is a Section 4 report, which means that it was a petition for a new municipal drain. There were some lands that were downstream of the existing Lipset drain, which services a watershed in the area of Mount Bridges and to the west or downstream of Mount Bridges. It stops and becomes a private ditch / water course at that point, close to where crosses the railway. And the landowners indicated that there had been some sedimentation and erosion and lateral movement of the channel, and the drain / ditch no longer provides a sufficient outlet, and they requested that the channel be reconstructed and brought back closer to what it was a number of years ago. And they wanted that done through the Drainage Act rather than privately. So this proposal is to reconstruct and clean out the existing channel in the area across the Ballantyne property. So from Christina down to Century Drive and just a short distance downstream of Century Drive. There is a drop in the channel at a point where we can terminate and gain enough depth in the channel a short distance into the Thus property. So we don't have to go too far downstream of the requesting property to be able to do that. And I think at that point I'll stop and open up to questions.
Are there any questions from any property owners in attendance? Seeing none, are there any requests from those present to add or remove their names from the petition? Are there any comments or questions from members of council? Seeing none, there are 2 motions in front of us. Council receive report EPW 2024-01 for information. The council adopt the engineer's report for the Ballantyne Christina Road Drain 2023 and give first and second reading to provisional bylaw number 01-24 for the project. Someone bring the motion. Councilor Hippel, second by Councilor Wilsey. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Next is the quarter revision regarding the Barron Drain. Motion to open the quarter revision. Councilor Kennis, second by Councilor Hippel. All in favor? Carried. I don't believe there's a report on this right now. So are there any appeals, if any, regarding the Barron Drain? Are there any questions from council? Seeing none, there are 2 motions. Council received report EPW 2024-02 for information. And further, subject to any appeals, provisional bylaw number 89-23 be referred to the consideration of bylaws section of the agenda for 3rd and final reading. Someone to bring the motion. Councilor Brennan, second by Deputy Mayor McGuire. Any Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Motion to close the quarter revision. Councilor Brennan, second by Councilor Kennis. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Motion to open quarter revision regarding the winter's drain be open. Someone bring the motion. Deputy Mayor McGuire, second by Councilor Palmer. All in favor? Carried. Are there any appeals present on the winter's drain? Any questions from council? Seeing none, there are two motions. Report EPW 2024-03, Winter's Drain 2023 quarter revision be received for information. And further, that subject to any appeals, provisional bylaw number 92-23 be referred to the consideration of bylaws section of the agenda for third and final reading. Someone to bring the motion? Councilor Kennis, seconder. Councilor Wilsey, all in favor? Carried. Motion to close the quarter revision. Councilor Pelkman, second by Deputy Mayor McGuire. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Just make sure I got the right part. There are 7 communications in front of us. Motion to receive the communications first. Councilor Kennis, second by Councilor Brennan. Anyone wish to speak to any of the communications? Councilor Kennis.
8.2 and 8.7.
Okay. Anyone else? Councilor Kennis, floor is yours.
8.2 is a resolution from the City of Stratford really asking the federal government to look at expanding repayment options on some of the loans that were given to small business during the COVID period of time. And I know there's been a lot of talk of that program lately and the hardships that a number of small businesses are facing just because of economic conditions currently underway and the strain on their cash flows as it is, and then having to come up with the money to repay these in full in a short period of time. And you know, as we all know, small business is the backbone of all of our communities, and certainly I applaud the resolution from the City of Stratford asking the federal government to look at more options in repaying those loans. So I would like to propose support of the City of Stratford resolution in this meeting.
Are you bringing a motion, Councilor Kennis?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Someone to second, Councilor Pelkman. Any questions of Councilor Kennis? All in favor? Oh, you did a question, I apologize, Deputy Mayor.
I just wanted to bring another procedural matter to attention.
Yep.
Your Worship. So sometimes when we do these, and I agree with this motion, like it's not this issue, it's some of these are coming before us and we really don't know anything about them when we're being asked to either support or not support, because we haven't been involved in the original discussion that led that council to making our usually rather lengthy resolution. So I did a little reading on our procedure bylaw, and section 40 sub B speaks to this and says that a member may request that a resolution from another municipality be added to an agenda for consideration, which seems to then mean that if we're going to agree with it, at least we're going to get information coming forth about the original, so we truly know what it is we're either agreeing to or not, although sometimes it may seem self-evident. Sorry, Madam Clerk, I didn't know this prior to the meeting, otherwise I would have given you a heads up.
Certainly, so in the procedure bylaw, it does state that resolutions can be added to the agenda at the request of council, through the chair to the deputy mayor. So our typical process in the past has been that we've received quite a number of resolutions from other municipalities throughout the province of Ontario. And we typically do add them to the agenda as we receive them, unless they have already been received previously, or it's just an endorsement. So I suppose, Deputy Mayor, are you requesting further information? Just for clarification, are you requesting further information about these resolutions as they're added, or?
In some instances, I would, Madam Clerk and Your Worship. Like I say, on this one, I don't particularly have an issue with it, but I'm more like, how does this process work? Because it's frequently they're brought before us, and without a lot of discussion, we're endorsing stuff that, quite honestly, sometimes I'm not fully aware of all the issues behind it. So if section B of, if clause B of section 40 is that it can be added to the agenda for consideration, and I guess it's the mayor that could add items to the agenda as we're going forward. So I'm stuck in a procedural headache that I'm not clear about.
Certainly, I guess just a bit of background for us, that is something we will be reviewing in the upcoming review of the procedure bylaw. In this particular instance with this resolution, it was something that was received by the Clerk's Department and was simply put on the agenda for information, which is how.
Yeah, and I understand that's how all of these come
Yes.
through. It's when we suddenly start talking about them, and I see that Madam Clerk, or Madam CAO has.
CAO.
Through your worship, to the Deputy Mayor. So there's different ways of dealing with this. So at any time, council can ask for further information on something, or if council wishes to put a resolution forward to support it, that can be done as well. So there's different ways. It depends on the item. If it's something that council feels that they have the information for and wants to make a resolution on, they can. If any member of council feels that it should come back with more information, that can happen as well. It is an item that is on the agenda, so council can make a resolution on it, because it is an agenda item. It's all based on the comfort level of council, and whether you feel you need further information before you make a decision or make a recommendation.
I don't want to belate it any further, Your Worship. Thank you.
That's fine. Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Wilsey. I just want to make sure we did have a seconder on that motion, not so by Councillor Pelkman, so I think the comment should be towards the resolution if we can. Unless you gotta, go ahead, Councillor.
My question is just, by supporting it, what are we doing? Like, I'm reading the last paragraph. It says, by calling on the federal government to extend the CEBA deadline. Like, are we making a motion to support it? Are we sending this back to Stratford? Are we writing a letter to the federal government? I really don't understand what we're doing. Like, I've got no issue with supporting it. I just don't know what we're doing or what's involved or what we're asking.
I think, Councillor Kenneth, I won't speak for you, so just.
Well, I just support the resolution, and I think that's just wherever these things go to. The Council of Stratford is asking for support from other municipalities, and I would see us in a similar position to Stratford and other small communities, and all communities for that matter, where there's small businesses operating, and just supporting what Stratford has said here, and really call upon the federal government to help these small businesses that are seeing loans called on small businesses that were granted during a difficult period, and they're still in a difficult period.
I think CAO McKibben has a comment.
So what I would like to do is I would like to make sure with every resolution that the clerk reads it back to council, so you are very clear on what you are voting on. So sort of something moving forward, that every resolution gets read out, whether it's from the mayor or if it's one that's been amended or there's been a friendly amendment to it, that the clerk reads it back out so it's very clear and recorded correctly.
Okay. So I'm just gonna ask Councillor Kenneth, are you looking for a written resolution or just a resolution of support from council?
I just support what Stratford is trying to do here, and if we can send them a letter of to support the resolution, that was all I was asking for, and to support small business. So.
Okay, Councillor Pelkman.
I think since they're asking that the federal government go, that we should send this motion from Stratford with a letter supporting it to our MP. That would be the way I see us contacting the federal government through our own MP, saying that we, as a municipality, support the resolution from Stratford.
Okay, any other, you wanna read that back, clerk, as to what they're seeking?
Sure, so, moved by, Councillor Kennis, seconded by Councillor Pelkman, that the Council of the Municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc supports the resolution from the City of Stratford regarding more business support for the CEBA loan businesses, and further that a letter of support be forwarded to the City of Stratford and our local MP.
Okay, is that Councillor Kennis? Got the resolution, all in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. I believe Councillor Kennis, you had 8.7.
Yeah, yeah, this is the one from Tay Township on cemeteries and I guess the cost of maintaining cemeteries that municipalities inherit and just overall the cost of maintaining cemeteries. I think the original thinking was everybody pays when they buy a plot in a cemetery into the perpetual care fund, I believe it's called. But I believe that the income coming off those perpetual care funds really aren't sufficient to take care of cemeteries, especially ones that are abandoned and inherited by the municipality. And so I was going to ask maybe Director Lilbourne to speak on this and confirm whether this is an issue. Certainly if all of this is left in municipality, it will add to all municipal costs of all municipalities in the future.
Director Lilbourne?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through yourself to council, the costs of running cemeteries are not going down; they continue to go up. Would have noticed last year I asked for additional staff to work on the repair of a number of monuments. We've been able to get to about 26 of the 1,000+ monuments that we need to deal with. There is funds that we do collect on every sale, whether it's a traditional burial or a cremation. Those funds can only be used for certain items. They cannot be used to offset labor. They cannot be used to offset general maintenance of the facility. It's care and maintenance to those plots and to the columbariums and such. And I'll have Director Dakin correct me if I'm wrong. Those fees, they're a percentage of what we charge per sale. So if our costs of our interments go up, or the traditional burial or a cremation, then we'll receive more funds. But we can only use the interest off of that principal. We cannot use the principal. If that helps clear everything up.
Thank you. Councillor Kennis?
Yeah, I just wanted to again make everyone aware that this is an issue for all municipalities, and I'm not suggesting a resolution of support or anything at this point, but I think it's something that we all need to be aware of in the future, that these costs are continuing to increase, and if there are cemeteries that we are required or requested to take on, that those costs will only grow in the future. And again, if other levels of government can pitch in for those costs, that would be most helpful.
Any others? Okay, seeing none, we do have a second motion on the floor to receive the communications. All in favor of receiving the communications? Councillor Kennis, second by Councillor Wilsey. Sorry, yeah, all of you got it. All in favor? Turn that on. Yep.
Yes, we did have a movement.
Yeah, we did. Move on to financial services report, section 357, the application financial report 2024-02. Motion to receive the report. Councillor Canis, second by Councillor Hippel. All in favor? Director Dakin, did you want to speak to the report?
Thank you. Through yourself to the council. Again, this is a housekeeping item. The homeowner has removed the business from the home and therefore a reduction in the commercial tax and the increase in the residential tax for a net result of $167.57.
Any questions of Director Dakin? Seeing none, the motion of the submitted Section 357 application for 2023 Wellington Street to remove the commercial assessment portion from the property be approved. Motion accept. Councillor Canis, second by Councillor Wilsey. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Next is the asset retirement obligation policy. Motion to receive the report. Councillor Canis, second by Councillor Pelkman. All in favor? Carried. Director Dakin, speak to the report.
Thank you, and again through yourself to council. So this is an added item through the Public Sector Accounting Board that is now requiring municipalities to track disposal costs of assets when they're retired. So not dissimilar to the properties that need remediation to put them back into use. So this one looks at, for instance, a good example would be if the municipality owned a facility that had asbestos in it. So when you go to dispose of that building or that facility, there's added cost to remove the asbestos, so therefore that needs to be accounted for and shown as a liability in the financial statements of the municipality. So this is merely a policy that's been put together by ourselves here and also our neighboring municipality of Middlesex Center of working together with this policy that would address the concerns that the Public Sector Accounting Board has with, and I'm happy to answer any questions about that.
Any questions of Director Dakin? Councillor Wilsey?
Just two, I see this was brought forward in April of 22, so about a year and a half ago, and it has to do with last year's taxes. I'm just wondering why, two-part question. One, why are we dealing with this in 2024 when it looks like it probably would be more than a year? And then the second question is, what effect is this going to have, and how is that going to affect the budget and things going forward and available cash flow? Because looking at this policy, it's going to cover things like the Mount Bridges landfills wastewater treatment site, also some buildings that have asbestos that the municipality owns. If we have to account for those liabilities, how does that have any real effect on either money we can borrow or money set aside or the FIR statements that we're filing each year?
Director Dakin?
Through the chair to Councillor Wilsey. So on the first question, I believe it was about the timing of the policy coming forward. So it was passed by the Public Sector Board in 2022, not to take effect until the 2023 year end. So this is something we're having to do for this current year end that we're in now. And that's why it's coming forward, because we're in the middle of starting the audit on the 2023 year end. As far as financial, what would I call it, cash costs to this, it is merely more of an accounting exercise in the sense of making sure that individuals that look at the municipality's financial statements understand that there are liabilities in order to remediate some of these products, assets, excuse me. The one, like the the transfer stations in Mount Bridges and Strathroy here are already being accounted for. That was in previous years. I believe it was in 2014, if I'm not mistaken, when those pieces came forward. As long as the asset is being used, this obviously doesn't take hold, is merely when we go to dispose of those assets. So it's more of a liability standpoint. As far as the effects on borrowing, I don't believe that there is an effect on our borrowing other than it is a liability. So obviously the financial statements would reflect that. As far as FIR, that is yet to be determined because 2023 will be the first FIR that will require the reporting of this if it is reported. The template that I've seen for the 2023 FIR doesn't include this yet, so I'm not sure what the province will be looking at as far as the FIR.
Councillor Brennan.
Through the chair to the director, would it be fair to say that this is just part of like a decade-long trend that we've seen from the provinces? They're tightening up asset management planning for municipalities across the entire province, just to kind of have a standardized template of future liabilities being taken into account when we're taking a look at the overall health of the municipality.
Yes, Director Dakin.
Through the chair to Councillor Brennan, that's it. That is correct. So this is just as things roll out, as we know that in 2009 was the first time that municipalities were required to actually record assets. Then came along the asset management in 2013. Asset management has been rolling forward to include more and more things. And now this is part of that more transparency, I guess one would say, as far as municipalities in sort of disclosing any obligations they have in retiring their assets.
Any other questions? Councillor Wilsey.
Just one quick one. When we talked about having the liabilities from the landfills and that we did a number of years ago, as those values go up and everything goes up with inflation, are we updating those values and those liabilities to meet with current standards in case the laws have changed or the cleanup standards have changed and the costs for that? Or are we updating those liabilities as they come along?
Yep. Director Dakin.
Through the chair to Councillor Wilsey, so the liability for lack of a better term, contaminated sites or sites that are not in use by the municipality are audited each year. Those figures are updated each year through our policies that we do in that area. So yes, and very similar to this, one of the things will be that we'll have to continue to monitor inflation, those kinds of things, to make sure that those numbers are accurate.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, there are two motions. The council adopts the asset retirement obligation policy. And further, that bylaw number 06-24 be referred to the consideration of bylaws section of the agenda for approval. Someone to bring the motion. Councillor Kennis, seconder, going once. Councillor Pelkman, I didn't see the hand there. All in favor? Opposed of any? Carried. Next is the compensation adjustments for elected officials and non-union staff for the preliminary 2024 operating budget. Motion to receive the report first. Councillor Pammer, seconder by Deputy Mayor McGuire. All in favor? Carried. Director Dakin, speak to the report.
Thank you. So before you, Council, is the report looking to increase the wage grid by 2% for the COLA, as well as compensate those staff that are eligible for step increases within that wage report. So you can see here the total impact of, for non-union, again, does not include part-time, seasonal firefighters, police staff, and does not include benefits. It's just looking at the wages exclusively. So there would be 27 staff eligible for step increases, and the 48 staff that would be eligible for COLA. So you see an increase based on the 2% and the step of 156,000. Before, below that schedule in the report is the full-time comparison of those wages, so you can see the impact of that. Also should note that the increase includes members of council as well, and so that is before you as well with the 9 members. You see an increase of just under $5,000 for the council members. Be happy to answer any questions if there is.
Any questions of Director Dakin? Councilor Brennan.
Not so much a question, Director Dakin, but a comment. Given the rate of inflation, a 2% increase for non-union staff for 2024, I just worry about retention and competitiveness, and wonder whether that 2% is sufficient to retain non-union staff. That would be my question in general about this. I have no problem necessarily endorsing it, but I think if we're looking at retaining staff, we should try to remain competitive, and I don't know if this does that.
Anybody care to comment? Director Payne, right person to comment on that?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Councillor Brennan. I guess my assessment, what I'm seeing in various municipalities, it's really all over the map. I can tell you, average, I'm seeing about 2.2, 2.25 as an average. I've seen as high as 5.7 as a high. I've seen a low as 1.75. So it's all over the map. I think it's all reflective upon the benefit package that a municipality provides to their staff. I suppose 2%, I concur with your statement, Councillor Brennan. It is below inflation. I think just being prudent for the planning of the budget, we selected 2%. It equals our collective agreement for our outside workers. In the collective agreement is 2%, which was bargained a couple of years, 2 years ago. So that's why we came to the 2%. But I do concur with your statement there. But I'm seeing, like I said, I'm seeing average 2.2, 2.25 as an average across various municipalities.
Any other questions? Councilor Wilson.
I've got two. My first question is the increase in staff. Could someone on staff explain how, with just by talking the cost of living, we've gone from 42 to 48 employees on staff? I'm just wondering where that increase is.
I don't know if, yeah, do you have that, Director Payne or the CAO?
I can, I'll take an attempt at it if I may. So the majority of the reflection is the council's approval of the positions we did last year. Off the top of my head, I don't have that exactly for me. We had 2 roads operators, JAS, cemetery, there's 4 right there. I'm missing 2, if one of my peers could help me.
CAO clerk separation.
That's correct, the CEO clerk separation is 5. One more. It may be a flex operator, or actually, it would be a flex operator. We had some internal movement with the flex operators, with hiring the 2 roads operators, the backfilling and
Okay. Second one, Councilor Wilsey.
Well, that brings up a different question. If there's 6 more staff, I'm looking at the total increase is only what it is for the cost of living increase plus the step increase. So if we've hired 6 more operators, that math doesn't seem to work out. It seems like there's quite a bit of numbers missing with going from 4.1 to 4.2 million. So I think there's some issues there with the report and the actuals. So Then the other part is with looking at the total increase together with the benefits that are gonna go with that are about a third. That's a 1% tax increase for the taxpayers. I'm wondering, being we're still partway through the budget, we haven't even looked at the operations budget yet. And noting that we've increased by 6 staff, but we're not showing that difference between the two numbers on this report. If we should refer this back to be part of the operations budget and discuss it then rather than approving this tonight. We may not want to do a 1% tax increase on this without even finishing our budget and knowing where we stand.
Any comments? Councilor Pelton.
I'm happy to make the motion on the recommendation. I don't think that we should differ from the union contracts. I think we should stay the same. So I'm happy to make the motion on the recommendation that's on the report.
Seconder for the motion, Councilor Kennis. Any questions? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of the motion? Opposed, if any? Carried. Item 9.1.4, the 2024 interim tax levy bylaw, motion to receive the report. Councilor Kennis, seconded by Deputy Mayor McGuire, all in favor, opposed if any, carried. Director Dakin, you speak to the report.
Thank you. Through yourself to council, this is another housekeeping item. So typically, in order to get our interim taxes out, we need an interim tax bylaw, which looks at the standard 50% of last year, starting as the interim levy that would go forward, and that's included in the bylaw section at the end of this meeting. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay. Seeing none, there are two motions. That the 2024 interim tax levy be no more than 50% of the total taxes for municipal and school purposes levied for the year 2023, and further the bylaw 05-24 be referred to the consideration of bylaws section of the agenda for approval. Motion to carry. Deputy Mayor McGuire, second by Councilor Kennis. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Community services. Expression of interest for a public-private partnership for the development, construction, operation, and maintenance of an ice arena and community center. Someone bring a motion to receive the report. Councilor Kennis, seconded by Councilor Brennan. All in favor? Carried. Director Liborn, speak to the report for us.
Thank you, Your Worship. The report in front of you this evening is exactly what the Worship has mentioned with regards to expression of interest. This came about at the last Mount Bridges Arena Committee meeting in December. There was direction for staff to create an EOI and publicize it as to garner the interest of the private sector in the development, construction, operation, and maintenance of a indoor ice arena and community center. So staff pulled together a expression of interest. This expression of interest does not bind the municipality in any way whatsoever. It is just a document and it provides the ability to determine if there is interest out there by the private sector for what we refer to as a 3P, which is a public-private partnership. So staff pulled that together in here for council to review and comment and provide some further direction to staff.
Any questions? Councilor Hippel.
Thank you. I read the letter. I liked the letter. I like that it's not going to hold us to anything if moving forward. But it's funny, when I read it a couple of times, and I was looking at the wording in it, and I thought, oh, that's odd. But I thought, okay, it's not anything. And then I had a few people contact me about the same wording, so I guess it was something. In your first paragraph, you got, I'm not gonna read the whole paragraph to you, but you say, a project to enhance recreational facilities, ideally in the community of Mount Bridges, within the municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc. Anytime you use a word ideally or possibly, scares people, because people in Mount Bridges are very excited and nervous, and their expectations are, they're just kind of all over the map at this point. So I don't know if there's some way we could, I mean, realistically, I understand what it means, because we just don't want a private company coming in and say, oh, you have to do it right here. But we are doing this in Mount Bridges. There's something, we are going to be doing something in Mount Bridges. So I just want to make sure that the community and the people that live in Mount Bridges understand that we're not possibly going to do something somewhere else.
Comment, Director Littleborn. I think that's a fair comment, by the way, from Councillor Hippel.
Through the chair to council. Use the term ideally in the community of Mount Bridges, simply because if we have a private investor who comes forward and say the expression of interest is exclusive to Mount Bridges and they have their own property just outside Mount Bridges, are we entertaining their offer? So ideally we'd like it inside the community of Mount Bridges, but we don't want to write an expression of interest that precludes the possibility of nearby location. Is that fair?
Councillor Hippel.
Yeah, you know what, I understand that, and I knew where this was going, but the only reason I brought it up is because you know full well that, we've got a lot of worried people, and they have been for a couple of years now, so I think it's just, it would be beneficial for me to bring it up, that's all.
Thank you. Councillor Pelkman.
Just perhaps we could change ideally to in or near the village of Mount Bridges.
Councillor Pammer, then Deputy Mayor.
You just might also want to change the word potentially in the project overview to follow what Councillor Pelkman suggested.
Deputy Mayor, you had it.
Thank you, Your Worship. I find in paragraph 4, the way that it is described, an arena and a gymnasium, a little restrictive. I really am eager to see what a private business would come back with. So in my mind, when we were discussing it, it's for an arena, and then I'd like to leave that open-ended, like other amenities that they feel could be included in this, because I don't know what those would be, but I don't want to limit what we're looking for, because they may bring something to the table that we never thought of. I'd like it more wide open.
Any other comments? Okay, I'll jump in. Director Littleborn, I tend to agree with the Deputy Mayor. If we could use words, I like the idea of leaving it wide open, and let's throw the lure out and see what comes back. And my other question was with regards to putting it exclusively on the bids and tenders page. Is there anywhere else we could advertise this? You would know, are there trade publications or somewhere we could put this out there and see what we get?
Through the chair to the chair, with regards to the term ice arena and gymnasium, is there alternative wording you would like me to add, or would you just like me to refer to an ice arena community center? Like, I'm not sure what kind of wording you're looking for, so I'm open to suggestions. And as with regards to your second comment there, Your Worship, I would suggest that we include posting it on the Ontario Recreation Facilities Association classifieds. It's on their website, but also goes out electronically to over 5,000 members. as well as Parks and Recreation Ontario. And I would suggest we would look at putting it on the Municipal Information Network as well. The construction trade, I don't believe the groups we're trying to attract would necessarily be located there, but reaching out to those recreation associations as well as the Municipal Information Network, I think would be our best bang for our buck.
Thank you. I think Councilor Derbyshire.
Thank you. Through you to, I'm going to say, Director Lilborn. When we talk about this private-public sharing of things, we're going to offset the cost of ice, I would believe, if it's going to be an arena. Like, they'll own I just want to know the structure makeup of this, I guess is what I'm asking for. So they'll own the arena, we'll buy ice time at a certain rate. Well, you want to answer? Okay.
Councilor Palmer.
Yep, thank you. Through the chair to Councilor Derbyshire. So the intent of this was that, obviously with the skyrocketing cost of construction, was just to throw something out to see if there was another opportunity out there to try and defray our costs somehow. So we're leaving it pretty open-ended to what the private sector is willing to propose, just to see if anything comes back. And that could be in building, it could be in operating. I would suspect that if it doesn't include shared costs in the building, then I would question why we would be doing it. But that's just my own personal thoughts. But that was the point, was just to see if the private sector is willing to do anything that we haven't thought of or asked for.
Councilor Derbyshire.
Okay, I'll finish what I was gonna say was, I'm asking more for the structure of, if somebody comes back and says, yes, we'll build you an arena, right? It's gonna be their arena. They'll run it, we'll buy ice time. Like, are we looking something like the Western Fair setup, where we pay the high ice rate and offset that by keeping it lower? We're still paying, the kids minor hockey would only pay this rate, but we would be charged this rate up here. So if that's the case, when you're thinking about a gymnasium and all this other stuff, are we going to do the same for the gymnasium and offset the cost of the running track, the multi-room, this, that, and the other thing for the community? Because this could be a privately owned business that these people want to make money at. So ice rate's $400, we're gonna buy it at $400 and sell it at $123 an hour, which is what would offset. I just want everyone to know this, what we're kind of getting ourselves into here, or what we're thinking about.
Yeah, Councilor Palmer.
Yeah, so I think the important part here is that while we're throwing this out there, we're not subject to take anything that anybody offers us. So if their terms aren't anything that we're interested in doing as a council, then the answer is we may do nothing. At the end of the day, I think the important thing in regards to arena and gymnasium is that the motion of council was that we would replace the arena, the one ice rink. And so maybe perhaps the wording could be to establish an arena and potentially other recreation amenities in the community of Mount Bridges.
Can I just add one thing? We'll go to Councilor recreation/entertainment facilities in there too. Councilor Palmer, then Deputy Mayor, then we'll take the vote.
Oh, I was just gonna suggest that maybe the wording might say, but not limited to. You might try something to phrase it that way, so we have some idea, but we're not limited to that. And the other was, I just wondered if it would be appropriate to get it out a little bit more, if a press release might be warranted, or perhaps working through our economic development officer. She may have some other sources and places where, people looking for investment opportunities might be looking, and she might be helpful there.
Okay. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just thinking of the planned proposal for down in Middlesex Center, where they have like physiotherapy clinics and stuff like this that is now proposed as part of their private arena build. So that's where I don't want to limit what we're going to get, because in all honesty, I have no idea what somebody would come up with, and really want to leave it in their hands. So Councillor Pelkman mentioned amenities as a word. That's kind of the word that was going through my mind. We need an arena. That's what we're looking for. And then, like, truly, other amenities, come to the table. Tell us what you're looking at, because maybe it's those other amenities which is where they're going to make their money. And the arena is going to be the loss leader. I don't know.
Good. Thank you. Seeing no more questions, we have a motion that council directs staff to publish.
Chair, could I read out the
Yes.
motion? Thank you. Great, thank you, Chair. Through the chair to members, just after hearing the discussion, just wanted to clarify the final motion. Would that be, and of course looking for feedback, that council directs staff to publish the expression of interest as amended on the bids and tenders page on the municipal website and other suitable locations?
Where the Madam Clerk commented as amended, I don't know what the, I mean, we had lots of discussions here.
Yep.
What is it going to say, or are we simply going to refer this back to staff to bring it back a new, whatever this document is called? Just prepare a new one and bring it back to us, so we'll just refer it back to staff and let them bring it back to us. Perhaps I'll make that motion that we refer it back to staff for a new draft.
Okay. Motion from Deputy Mayor, seconder, Councillor Pammer. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Engineering and Public Works, cost breakdown for Park House Drive and Troops Road letter response. Motion to receive the report first. Councillor Hippel, second by Councillor Kennis. You want to comment on the report first? Any questions from anyone to Director Strauss? Councillor Wilsey.
I was just wondering, looking at the cost breakdown, the only one that really stands out is the cost to bring the engineer in. And with such a simple report, that's like a 1.5, 2-page report, I just question where the decision came to bring in an engineering firm and for $2,000 to potentially answer questions on a $1,500 report that was really quite straightforward. So I'm just questioning that and kind of the logic behind that, because I don't understand how we came to that decision.
I don't know if you or the CAO, Director Strauss.
Thank you, through the chair, to Councillor Wilsey. Council made a motion based off of an unsolicited resident letter. And then the motion was to come back to the following meeting. At that following meeting, I was not available. I had booked vacation. And then it was the decision of staff to have that that engineer attend the council meeting for questions that were specific to EA processes, the design. There was other recommendations about stop signs and lowering speed limits. So that was where that decision came from. And the engineer did attend, and there was no questions asked.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we have a second motion. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Traffic Committee, Q4 update. Motion to receive the report. Councillor Kennis, second by Deputy Mayor McGuire. Are there any questions to Director Strauss on the Traffic Committee report? Councillor Pammer.
Not a question, but just a comment. I'm happy to see that the matter of Dell Drive is on the docket to be looked at. This has been an area of concern, well, since I moved into the area 10 years ago, but I've also received lots of emails and, other people chatting with me about it. I just wanted to point out that I know that there are a lot of areas in the municipality that don't have sidewalks, but I do think this is a priority as there's a laneway entrance to St. Vincent de Paul Public School, so it's a high traffic area for the children to walk. It's designed so children will walk down that street and enter into the school and park. But also because of the laneway, it is a bit of a traffic nightmare with cars parking on both sides at drop-off and pick-off times. which then leaves the option of either walking down the center of the road, which is what I usually choose, but children then are forced to just walk across people's front lawns. That's the other option, which that's probably what you would encourage your children to do, not walk down the center of the road like I do. So either of those are not great options, but yeah, I just wanted to point out that I think it is an important matter and a real safety concern, so I'm glad to see that's on the docket and look forward to your report.
Councillor Pelkman.
Yeah, I would echo Councillor Palmer's comments. This is a unique situation in the municipality because of the drop-off function and the fact that it's a pretty tight road with two 90-degree bends in the street fairly close together, and a very large volume of people who seem to think that that's actually a shortcut to dropping their child off rather than using the front of the school like it's designed to be. So it is problematic on that street, more so than other streets that potentially don't have sidewalks. It's a very different situation.
Any other questions? Councillor Wilsey.
Just on the section about Parkhouse Drive under road maintenance, just to clarify, my comments in the previous report, they were about considering the road maintenance, or not the road maintenance, but the condition of the road when we're looking at the speed limit for Parkhouse, where the resident had recommended dropping it, not necessarily a separate one for road maintenance. And the reason I bring that up is, with this being a possible candidate for tar and chip in 2024, I don't know if we want to consider that until the study that's going to be done in September of 2024 on the Troops and Parkhouse intersection is finished. I don't think we should be considering working and upgrading Parkhouse and redoing the tar and chip if we're just going to be ripping it up with that study being done. So I just wanted to clarify that I wasn't asking them to redo Parkhouse or to fix Parkhouse. I was just commenting that the lanes are deteriorating, they're getting narrow, and we've had requests to lower the speed limit on Parkhouse for safety. So I was looking at maybe revisiting because the road condition was not included when they talked about the speed limit, they just looked at the traffic count. So that's what I was looking at. So I want to make sure we're not going to redo that, and that it's not a candidate if we don't want to redo tar and chip and then redo the intersection a year later. That would be a waste of taxpayer funds.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we have a second motion. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Sanitary private drain connection, council motion deferral, motion to receive the report. Deputy Mayor McGuire, seconder, sorry, I saw a hand there. Oh, sorry, Councillor Derbyshire. You want to speak to the report, Director Strauss, or any questions of Director Strauss? Any questions? Councillor Derbyshire.
I guess I'll speak to this as it was my motion. So I just find myself somewhat at a loss with this, as it's the private drain connection for the sanitary sewer. So when I looked up what a private drain connection is, the private drain connection is defined as the pipe that goes from the municipal road to the house. So we're not supplying any of that in any of this. All we're supplying is the municipal section. So we're supplying the main sewer trunk with an offshoot where the private drain connection would be connected to. So when I get looking at what we've done here, and the more I look into other sides, when I asked if it's developer driven, what do other municipalities do? The thing I could find most was if a developer decides they're doing it, the developer pays. At some point we pay, the property owner would pay for his private drain, his or hers private drain from their house to our main sewer line, which is already there, and pay to have their septic system discontinued. So there would actually be no cost to the homeowner. It would be the developer that paid for that because the developer wants the pipe down there. I believe if it is an improvement, which we called that, we're trying to call some of these an improvement, you need 2/3 of the street to say yes to it. Even if it is municipally driven, 2/3 of the street, is my understanding, still has to agree to do this. So I'm not trying to argue for Queen Street here, I'm just trying to figure out how we ended up at 17.5 for people for anybody going forward here. They're not really getting anything new other than the pipe. The sewer pipe in front of their place. I've looked at, London has, it's called a frontage fee, where they pay for the frontage that goes across their frontage. They pay, there's a formula on their website that does disclose how that's paid for and gone over. I don't know if that's something we more want to look into, but I do believe that 17.5 is it's not, like, they're paying for roads and everything else that they've already paid for. So, and unless they've put a motion, or unless they put a request to do that, I don't think we're doing the right thing by people here.
Is there a question, Councilor Derbyshire, or just a comment?
Sorry, I guess it's kind of a comment. I mean, I don't even know if when we call it a private drain connection, like, we're not, it's so very hard because the definition is not that. Like, the definition of the private drain is the piece that's actually on the private property. So, if there is an explanation other than we're paying for roads and this, like the road, the sidewalks, the hubs, all this, if it's an upgrade and an improvement that way, I do understand that. I believe that it needs a 2/3 vote for that to go through. And if it's developer driven, I believe the developer should pay for it. So that's, I guess, their comments. If you want to fire back to the comments, you can too. Or like,
yeah. Director Strauss.
Thank you through the chair to Councillor Derbyshire. So I guess I'll go back to the developer driven part component. So if we were to do, and I can use Queen Street as an example, if the municipality did not require the developer to upgrade the private drain connections, that's a standard, that's just a standard word for across in engineering. So that actually means from the main line all the way over to the house. So I understand what you're saying about private side. But if a developer like Queen Street, if they were just to go ahead, the municipality actually asked the developer to service each lot to avoid future expenses to the municipality going in and ripping up a brand new road. Essentially, the developer's only obligation was to run that pipe to connect to their development, and then they could have just restored the road as is. That's where the municipality had to pay the upcharge. Just simple numbers is if the developer does go ahead and just puts in the mainline pipe, you would see a drastic decrease in the overall construction cost. Usually the most time-consuming part of reconstruction projects is actually pulling those sanitary services off the main line. So if the developer just went ahead with the road construction, they'd likely only need to excavate just that asphalt surface. You wouldn't see them be going into driveways and onto private property unless we were adding sidewalks or something of that nature, but that wouldn't be a full excavation underground. So there is a drastic cost savings if we didn't install sanitary private drain connections to the property lines.
Councilor Derbyshire.
thank you. No, I do understand that. But they would also be they're running the sewer to their new subdivision, right? So they're putting this in regardless. As the municipality, whatever deal you make with the developer, you know, whether it's 50-50, 60-40, I mean, that's between us and the developer. I don't feel that the people on the street should pay it. That really is like, it's not their pipe. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you want them to just pay for the pipe, then just pay the pipe. Pay a frontage fee like you would for any hunk of thing coming past the front of you. The developer wants the sewer down there, right? The developer wants to rip the road up. We've stated, okay, in doing that, we want you to upgrade it to these standards. Well, then that's between us and the developer, and at some point we might have to say development fees have to come in and help do this because we've collected or we're going to collect from all back here, their development. Maybe that helps pay for some of this up here. But we shouldn't turn to citizens and say, okay, you're now in for a third, which is essentially what we did.
Any other comments or questions? Councillor Pelkman.
A question and then a comment. So the actual motion for tonight is deferral, correct? We're not making a decision tonight?
Correct.
Okay. When I was...
Sorry, we're receiving it for information.
Right.
We're receiving it for information.
But there's no decision being made on...
No,
Okay.
no decision. We're just receiving the report.
So, just in listening to Councillor Derbyshire there, the mayor and I dealt recently with an issue in the downtown core where we had to discuss about where does the municipality's responsibility start and where does the individual property owners start. And it reminded me of a time actually when we changed the definition of who's responsible for what when there's a drain pluggage. And we changed it at that point in time to the homeowner was responsible to the property line, and after the property line, then the municipality was responsible for the repair. And maybe there's some weight there to treating them the same when it's a new install as opposed to a repair, and then that way we know who owns what and who's responsible for what. But the one thing that I really liked in here in the previous report was the plant capacity charge. You know, at the end of the day, if the municipality was to cover everything under the road construction portion, including bringing the stubs to the property line, then the point of the legislation is that the system is supposed to be self-sustaining. And to me, if you're connecting to the system, then should you not be paying a plant capacity charge? And maybe that's a little easier to explain to people than saying it's the cost of the pipe under the road, because it is and it isn't, and it's different in every case depending on what obstacles you got to go around. So, but the plant capacity charge would be something that would be fairly consistent. And if we're bringing the pipe, you know, to the other side of the sidewalk, and the homeowner only has to rip up what's on their own property and pay their own costs, then I think that gets rid of a lot of the arguments and the ambiguities that have been in this issue. So,
yeah, just gonna chime in because the clerk has forewarned me about some of this. There may be a possibility in a couple of weeks to have a more fulsome discussion on this with a motion that may be in front of us. Yeah,
I'm just expressing my opinion while I have the option to do so, to possibly influence what comes forward to council.
Yeah. Sorry, Councillor Wilsey.
I would say just a comment to follow up on Councillor Pelkman's. I agree with almost everything you said. The one thing that I wanted to just point out is that if you go back to when the wastewater treatment plant, and this is specifically for Mount Bridges, the existing homes that were there when that plant was built back in 2009, they already had their capacity, and so what's happened is some of the capacity that was dedicated to those original homes has been applied to some new subdivisions. So that makes sense, but I would say that the houses that were existing in Mount Bridges when the plant was done should have already had that covered when the plant was built, because that was part of the initial grant that we had.
One more, then we'll...
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, we can't go back in the past and change everything. We can only make something that works moving forward, so with that.
Deputy Mayor. I'd like to come back to you, Councilman.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's a motion to accept this.
Just receive the report.
Yeah, to receive the report.
Receive for information.
I'm actually going to make a motion to defer that motion to the next meeting, because I'd like to keep this report live in front of us at the next meeting when the broader discussion is about to happen. So, just for the mere fact of, this is a great report. It's got lots of information in it. I'd like to have this in front of me at the same time, and I'd just like it to flow through the agenda.
So you have a motion to
defer? I'll just make a motion to defer this to the February 5th meeting.
So, and if I may, because, sorry, through the chair to members, because we do have the motion on the floor to receive for information, and Deputy Mayor, you moved that. So I'm wondering if Councillor Derbyshire would be agreeable to a friendly amendment to defer to February 5th.
Yeah, that's fine.
Take off the date, though. Take off the date.
A deferral requires a date, otherwise it's being tabled. It's a different motion. I'm deferring it because I want it to be here at the next meeting. I think that's really where we need to see the report, so that's why I want to put date on it.
All in favor of Deputy Mayor's seconded motion? Opposed, if any? Carried. Chief Administrative Officer Report 2024 seasonal recruiting. Motion to receive the report first. Motion to receive, Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Pelkman. CAO, did you wish to speak to the report first?
If I can, Director Payne drafted this report, so if it's agreeable, we'll have Director Payne speak to it.
More than agreeable.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, Council. The report before you is regarding our 2024 seasonal hiring. The reason for this before you today is really to keep on track of our recruitment strategy to get the best employees for our services that we deliver. Historically, now is the time we start recruiting for our 2024 positions. What I'm seeing this year is we're a little bit behind other municipalities. I think everybody's getting crafty and they're getting out. I've seen postings in December for hiring for their 2024 seasonal positions. So essentially the report before you, I want to give you the background with respect to what we're up against for hiring. So council's obviously aware we're in the midst of planning the 2024 operating budget. So in the report, you'll notice there's 19 job postings that we put up traditionally every year, typically in January, which last year, 2023 numbers encompasses 102 positions of hire. It's a tall task with respect to hiring that many people and managing that many postings. But I do want to say a lot of it echoes the great programs that we offer the community, or at least Director Loborn's team does a great job of that. So the reason the report's before you is just to get your approval to begin the recruitment immediately ahead of the budget, 2024 budget, just hiring to the 2023 numbers. Couple of points of interest: we have applied for grant funding. Were successful last year for over $12,000. We're seeing this year Canada Summer Jobs, maybe some additional grant funding we can get. Obviously, we're going to apply for, which weren't available the last few years for us. So we're hopeful there. Rounding out the report, you'll see the options, but I do want to defer, if I may, to Director Loborn. I think the numbers are staggering. I think council should be apprised of what numbers are. So if I could defer that to Director, Your Worship.
Director Loborn.
Through your chair to council. As indicated in the report, as of January 4th, in writing of the report, there were 760 registrations. We are now at 1,347 registrations with a wait list of 179 registrations. To put that in perspective, we didn't hit that number until beyond April 24th of 2023 last year. And to put that further into perspective, we only had 1,276 registrations in 2022. So as you can see, we are well on our way. We do expect to reach our about 1,800 registrations this summer. Again, what Director Payne has put forward is the status quo. So we don't have the ability to grow our camp any more than what we have. So one of the reasons why you have so many on a wait list.
Thanks for that. Those numbers are amazing. Any questions? Councillor Hippel.
I actually don't have a question, I have a comment. I know we are moving into budget, and I know that this is probably worrisome, but at the same time, I just want to say I'm really excited about this because I have talked to a lot of students, and I wouldn't just say high school students, but a lot of students that are coming back from college and university. And this is their home, and they're coming home, and they like to be able to work within their community. And if they could snap up a job before another municipality or another area grabs them, in my world, it would be fantastic. I know we were short in a lot of areas of our rec program last year, and I really hate for us to not have those programs for the families in our community, because there is a lot of people in our community that are really depending on our programs throughout the summer. So I have no problem with this, but I just wanted to say the buzz, it's going out there right now. I mean, students are looking for work, and moms and dads and grandparents are looking for somewhere for those kids to be. So it'd be nice if it was here.
Any other questions, comments? Councillor Derbyshire.
I just have one question on the temporary fire prevention officer. Is that going to be just a seasonal position, or is this something we're hiring on the full-time, or I just wondered why it's in here under seasonal positions.
Who wanted, Director Payne?
Through your worship to Councilor Derbyshire. So that one is an addition. So right now we're recruiting for a full-time FPO or fire prevention officer. The temporary one is existing. We've had that for a couple of years, building the fire prevention program. And I believe unless the Deputy Chief corrects me if I'm wrong, but I believe the intent is to keep that position temporary, part-time for this year to finish off the program.
Any other, yep, Councilor Derbyshire, do you follow up?
Well, we're hiring a fire prevention officer, and then this is gonna be like a junior?
Currently, through your worship to Councilor Derbyshire, currently, full-time FPO is currently what we're recruiting. The temporary FPO is senior, building the fire prevention program. They've already built it and they're still adding to it. I would say the position that the temporary, as you mentioned, is, I wouldn't say it's junior, they're building the program essentially.
Any other, yep, Councilor Pammer.
So just following up on that, I mean, to me, that doesn't sound like a seasonal position, the temporary fire prevention officer. And I just wonder if the human resource student, if you could just clarify that that's a summer student is what I'm assuming that reading right. The environmental service student, is that a summer student? Market is obviously seasonal. And I think there was one more in here. Museum assistant, is that also just for the summer season? So you're taking like a student in?
Through your worship to Councilor Pammer. So great question. So I'll start off with the FPO. I listed it under seasonal because the contract is coming up for expiry. And I believe the service still needs that work to continue to build that program. Call it seasonal, what have you, but ongoing temporary for 2024 until the chief may come cancel that contract or end it. The other question, HR, yes, seasonal student for sure. If I can put some context, I'll upsell my department a little bit. 102 hires, it took 6 months last year for just my student to do all the recruiting. 6 months just on that task. So it's a tall task to hire that many positions, that many people, and handle the training and orientation, what have you. Museum, yes, the answers to your questions are yes, student seasonal position. So I want to be careful I don't say just students, because we do sometimes get so adults come in for the temporary opportunities, so crossing guards, etc. So.
Any other questions? Councillor Canis.
I guess just, I think a lot of these folks would be doing jobs where there's user pay involved in that. I was just wondering if there's like an estimate as to, is most of these salaries going to be covered by user pay charges?
Yep, I bet you Director Littlemore can answer that.
Through the chair to Councillor Kennis, just going off of the status quo, if we have a projected registration for the year, so that would be 2,165 registrations. So that includes summer camp, winter camp, and so on. The projected revenue for that is $411,520. The projected expenses are $292,450 for a difference of $119 and change. Now, if we were to add, because currently we have 179 people on the wait list, we have no more room to bring people in. If we're able to add staffing to the summer camp program, and when I was talking to the supervisor, if we had 3 more staff, we could bring in 22 more registrants per week. So that'd be about 176 participants at about $210. That's an additional $37,000 in revenue on an expense of $15,000 to $20,000. But we won't realize that additional revenue if we're not able to add beyond the 2023 complement, which we're looking to do this evening.
Any other questions? I just have one just through me to Director Payne, and just to follow up on Councillor Derbyshire's on the FPO. It's currently a temporary position, but once the chief decides to hire full-time, the temporary FPO, for lack of a better word, would cease to exist or would go away, or the temporary FPO could become the full-time, but the temporary FPO, I just want to clarify that because I think I understand what.
Okay, great. Through your worship to yourself. So currently the full-time FPO position that's posted currently is to backfill somebody that is no longer in that seat. So that's a backfill, so not the full-time. The temporary has been, the last couple of years, temporary. I just know the chief has been using that temporary position to build and expand the fire prevention program. I think I'd defer to the deputy chief what the future plans of that position are. To my understanding, the FPO, the temporary FPO, is for 2024, but I can't speak to what the plans are for the service beyond that.
Okay. Any other questions required? Seeing none, we have a motion that council approves option 2, the recruitment and hiring of all listed I didn't see your hand there, Councillor.
Yeah, I'm going to ask for an amendment to the motion. Can we get an amendment?
Okay.
That we approve option 2 with the removal of the temporary fire prevention officer, because I don't feel it fits in the temporary as a season. I don't feel like it fits in the classification of a seasonal position. So that's why I'm asking for the removal of that, and then leave the rest of the motion. That would be my amendment.
Okay, so I'll read that and then we'll get a seconder to your
Yeah.
motion. So then we'll ask for questions and clarification. Council approves option 2 with the exception of the FPO, Fire Department, correct? The temporary FPO, recruitment and hiring of all listed except for the temporary FPO, 2024 seasonal positions, equivalent to the 2023 hiring except for the temporary FPO, and directs the human resources to commence recruitment immediately. Did that sound fair, clerk? Yep, that sound fair to you, Councillor Pemmer? Seconder, Deputy Mayor, any questions, concerns, or comments? Councillor Kennis.
I just, before supporting something like this, I just would like to know what difference not having that person in place would make to the overall operation.
That will defer to either Director Payne or Deputy Chief Beasley.
Sir? Through the chair to Councillor Kennis. As the Director has pointed out, we're in the process of hiring and there's going to be a gap there. From what my understanding is, we renewed the contract here until I believe it was April, and that would cover onboarding the new person, and then at that point, hopefully Chief Smith will be back and we'll be revisiting that position at that time. So really, the fire prevention aspect of this is the Chief Smith's area of expertise, and I don't really want to go any further than that, if that's okay.
Deputy Mayor?
If I may, I seconded the motion, but I will tell you that if it passes, my next comment to the CAO, if I'm allowed to make one, is that I would like a full report on this temporary FPO. I've had discussions with Chief Smith about this, have a little bit of knowledge about it, not just enough to be dangerous, but we do need this information. I do agree with the amended motion, though. It's not a seasonal one, but we need this in a full report back to us, preferably on the 5th of February, because we do need to address it.
Any comments? Councillor Palkman.
Yeah, I'm just assuming we would expect to see that position in the draft of the budget rather than through this.
Any other comments? So we have a second motion, which I won't read back, but we know what it is. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
And your worship, again, just because now would be the appropriate time, I would like to see this come back. Budget would be wonderful, but this is important, and I would very much like to see a wholesome report about this position. That being the temporary FPO position. Thank you.
Can you make a motion, Deputy Mayor?
I can turn that to a motion that we receive a report from the fire chief, and right now our deputy fire chief is holding that role at our earliest budget meeting, that you can have that report to us in regards to the temporary FPO.
Okay. Seconder to that motion, Councillor Palmer. Any questions or discussion? All in favor?
Discussion?
Sorry. Didn't see a hand go up there.
Sorry, I just had a question, and as long as the deputy chief is willing to do that, I know at the end there, he did say that was Chief Smith's area of expertise, so as long as he's comfortable enough to bring it back at the next meeting, then I think that's okay, but if that's not what you would like to be part of, then maybe it has to wait until Chief Smith can come back.
I wish I could defer that.
We'll teach you how.
Yeah. I will do that. Hopefully I'll be able to answer it to your satisfaction, and if not, then we'll have to potentially ask those questions first. But certainly I will do my best to answer the question. So thank you.
Yeah. Director Payne.
Thank you, Your Worship. If I could just pick up on Deputy Chief's pieces. So I'll work with the deputy on the next report, and I do have a little bit of knowledge, as Deputy Mayor mentions as well in the background, so I will work with them on that and endeavor to get a report back to council as quick as we can.
Any other comments, questions, concerns? All in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Next is the Conservation Authority Agreement. Motion to receive the report for information. Councillor Canis, second by Councillor Brennan. All in favor? Carried. CAO McKibben, did you want to speak to the report?
Thank you, Your Worship. Before you is an updated agreement regarding the services provided by the Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority. Council has previously approved the agreement with the St. Clair Conservation Authority, and this is a change with the provincial legislation on the requirements for conservation authorities. And I brought forward a report and an agreement at the last meeting, but wanted to bring back an updated agreement. From doing research, it was discovered our agreement looked different than the other municipalities. So what you see before you tonight is an identical agreement that the other municipalities also were presented with. The point that the 4 items that I'd like to highlight for council that were missing from the previous agreement was this agreement before us now has a dispute resolution, talks about the process for it, has a termination clause, contains definitions, and most importantly, contains a cost apportionment which the original agreement had. So again, very comfortable with this agreement. It is the same agreement that was before the other municipalities, and it is before council tonight for approval.
Any questions? Seeing none, the motions, the council direct the mayor and clerk to execute the agreement, and further that bylaw number 03-24 be referred to the consideration of bylaws section of the agenda for approval. Motion to carry, Councillor Hippel, second by Councillor Kennis. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Next is hiring report, GIS, planning assistant, and flex operators. Motion to report HR 2024-02, hiring report, GIS, planning assistant, and flex operators be received for information. Motion to receive, Deputy Mayor McGuire, second by Councillor Brennan. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. There are 5 reports from boards and committees be received for information. Any questions, comments, or concerns on any of the reports? Seeing none, motion of reports from boards and committees be received for information. Motion to receive, Councillor Kennis, second by Deputy Mayor McGuire. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Deputy Mayor, County Council report. Seems like a long time ago.
It does, and it has been. There's a one-page document there that gives some highlights. We meet again tomorrow, so not too much more of that to say. Sorry, you didn't even get a chance to take a drink of your water.
That's okay. Inquiries and comments. We will start with inquiries and comments. We'll start with Councillor Hippel.
Thank you. I just have an inquiry tonight, actually. I was speaking to a few senior residents in our municipality, and loving that, you know, there's lots to do here, and that the programming is been increased, and there's just even more things to do. However, when we have PD days and when we have holidays and various things like that, the seniors kind of get bumped, because obviously children need something to do, and I know this is probably counteracting what I just said probably not 5 minutes ago. However, we have a lot of seniors in our community, and they don't always spend holidays, Easter or what have you, with family, because they don't have family. Some of them do, some of them don't. So when they aren't able to have somewhere to go on that regular evening that they normally do, you know, I'm sure it's kind of sad or it's frustrating, I'm not sure. But there's a few of them that were just wondering if there is a place for them to go. They do get bumped, and I mean, they understand it, but it would be nice if they had somewhere to go. And they don't have anywhere to go on PD days, holidays, and the summer, ultimately. So that's just my, I guess, inquiry, comment. I'm not sure. That was brought to me by several people. So I guess that would be something I guess I would ask Director Liborn about.
Director Liborn.
Thank you, Your Worship, through yourself to Councillor Hippel. I will inquire with the programming staff to see if there's anything we can do to accommodate those seniors who may get bumped. Maybe it's a matter of us relocating the PD day camps from one venue to another venue. Maybe consolidating a seniors activity on those days, maybe run a special event for them, as opposed to bumping them and not providing an alternative location or activity. So I will inquire and see what we can do to improve that situation.
Thank you. Councillor Kennis.
We have a lot of meetings this week, so in order to prevent prolonging this, I have nothing.
Councillor Wilsey. Councillor Brennan.
No comments tonight, thank you.
Councillor Pelton.
Just one question of our county reps, just wanting to make sure that the stoplight at the corner of Head and Metcalf is still on the books.
I believe go ahead, because I had asked.
Yeah, I think you did mention it,
Yep.
but, yeah, I've been told specifically by Chris Straney that yes, it was. I think that this year was a matter of getting the materials.
Yeah.
So I'm sure if it hasn't been bumped to the top, we meet tomorrow with him.
Councilor Derbyshire.
I guess I have maybe a comment and an inquiry, probably just an inquiry. I was at the meeting for the Melbourne Agricultural Society the other day, and I was perplexed, I guess, to say the least, as to how it kind of went about with their funding process. So I wondered if, instead of them applying for individual grants for individual events, whether we could make a motion to just move them to one grant of a certain amount of money, as opposed to them trying to go through the process of 8 individual events, or trying to figure out how to do this, being that they are 365 days a year and they do have 8 events that they would have to apply for. So I don't know if maybe they move kind of like the downtown market, where we just give them a lump sum, say of 10,000 out of the operating, whether that's, where we do, or how we can come about this. But I wondered if this was something that was doable, or that council would be open to.
We may have an answer for you, Councilor Derbyshire. Director Littleborn, did you want to speak to that?
Absolutely. Through the chair to Councilor Derbyshire, this exact item came up at our last CDAC meeting, and CDAC has directed staff to reach out to the Melbourne Agricultural Society to develop an application that would meet all of the parameters around the community event program. The program does not permit the funding that we have allocated for the community events program to go towards the operating expense of an organization. It has to go against an event. So if the Melbourne Agricultural Society was to come forward and ask for, say, $10,000 for the Melbourne Fair, that is a $10,000 influx of revenue into their Melbourne Fair, which should give them a $10,000 surplus at the end of the Melbourne Fair. Take that $10,000 out of the Melbourne Fair and put it into your operating expenses for your organization. It meets the requirements of the community events program, and it still provides them the funding they need to execute the operation of their activities. So staff are going to be reaching out to the Melbourne Agricultural Society in the next number of days, and we'll be working with them to pull together an application for our next Community Development Advisory Committee, and we'll be able to put that through, and it is all intents and purposes to get, to provide them the funds that they've asked for. We just need to see if there's a way that we can make it fit into the application within the guidelines. So although they haven't been awarded it or recommended by the committee yet, our goal is to get there. So if you give us a month, work with the Agricultural Society, and I'm sure we'll come up with something that would be sufficient for all parties involved.
Yeah, Councilor Derbyshire.
Yeah, and I do appreciate that. I understand where they're coming from, and I know that they do have some people right now that are pretty gung-ho on supporting the community, right? What I worry about is if they don't have the same people in place, will this continue? And there are 5 or 6 significant events that happen in Melbourne, and the community really doesn't require a whole lot of else, to be honest with you. They're kind of there. I just thought if we could make it easier for them as a community that again is being run by volunteers, and somebody just maybe not.
We'll get there. Councillor Pelkman.
Yeah, I'll make the same comment I made at CDAC to try and reassure people that the Strathroy-Caradoc Council has been giving the Melbourne Agricultural Society $10,000 a year for at least a dozen or 15 years, and I don't see anyone around the table here who would be willing to alter that. It's just a matter of how are we getting the application in, and maybe just doing some education with people. But I think that we've always seen that the Ag Society is benefiting the community, not only of Melbourne, but the whole of Strathroy-Caradoc, and I don't see us changing the flow of money to the Ag Society.
Yeah, one more.
That's it. Yeah, and all I was just asking for was it to be simplified down to it be more of a grant as opposed to this where you have to fill out and go through and apply. Like, I'm just saying, if they lose the people over there that are actually applying for this, there's a good chance that somebody might not even apply. So I was just trying to simplify it so it's more of a grant from the Strathroy-Caradoc, but if we don't want to head down that road, that's fine too.
Councillor Pamela.
Just as a follow-up to Sandy's comments, you know, the first thing that came to mind when you say that is the Legions in both Strathroy and Mount Bridges are always looking for people to come out and to increase their activity. So I would encourage seniors in the community to reach out to the local Legions. They are doing a lot, and they're making huge efforts at trying to attract more people from the community to participate in the activities that they're putting on. So just as another alternative for some seniors, we do have two very active Legions in the community.
Just Melbourne.
Yeah. We have three.
Very active. Like, keep it going. Deputy Mayor.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have one. This Sunday, Roma begins. Burlington Municipal Association, and on Sunday at 2 o'clock we have a delegation with Minister Surma, myself, CAO, Councillor Hippel, and Councillor Pammer make our pitch for infrastructure dollars. It's real quick, in and out, 15 minutes, but we'll certainly let them know that Strathroy-Caradoc will take all the help that they're willing to give us, so appreciate that. It's good. Excuse me, and as Councillor Kennis had said, it is a busy week of meetings. We have a special meeting of council tomorrow night, finance committee, another special meeting of council, the finance committee. So we're all very busy, and I appreciate staff's efforts. Motion that at 7:48, council move into closed session for the purposes of discussing the following. One item in accordance with council's procedure bylaw to approve in-camera meeting minutes. One item pursuant to section 239 of the Municipal Act as amended regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board. Two items pursuant to section 239 of the Municipal Act as amended regarding a proposed or pending acquisition or disposal of land by the municipality or local board. One item pursuant to section 239E of the Municipal Act as amended regarding litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. Motion to go into closed session. Councillor Hippel, second by Councillor Kennis. All in favor? Here. You guys get everybody to wait till we go. Give us a minute here. Go ahead. Welcome back, everyone. Motion that the closed session adjourn at 9:21 and open session resume. Someone to bring a motion. Councilor Kennis, second by Councilor Brennan. All in favor? Carried. Council met in closed session. We discussed one item in accordance with Council's procedure bylaw, one item pursuant to section 239B of the Municipal Act, two items pursuant to section 239C of the Municipal Act, and one item pursuant to section 239E of the Municipal Act. Recommendation that the direction in closed session be approved. Councilor Brennan, second by Deputy Mayor. All in favor? Carried. Now, consideration of bylaws. Clerk, bylaw number 8923.
The first bylaw for consideration this evening is bylaw number 8923 to provide for the construction of the Barron Drain 2023. The recommendation is that bylaw 8923 receive third and final reading.
Motion that bylaw 8923 receive third and final reading. Councilor Pammer, second by Councilor Pelkman. All in favor? Carried.
Bylaw number 9223 is to provide for the construction of the Winters Drain 2023. The recommendation is that bylaw 9223 receive third and final reading.
Motion that bylaw 9223 receive third and final reading. Deputy Mayor, second by Councilor Wilsey. All in favor? Carried.
Bylaw number 0124 is the bylaw to provide for the construction of the Valentine Christina Road Drain 2023. The recommendation here is that bylaw 0124 receive first and second reading only.
Motion that bylaw 01-24 receive first and second reading. Councilor Hippel, second by Councilor Brennan. All in favor? Carried.
The next bylaw for consideration is bylaw number 0224, being a bylaw to prescribe the height, description, and manner of building and maintaining fences. The recommendation is that bylaw 0224 receive first, second, and third and final reading.
Motion that bylaw 02-24 receive first, second, third, and final reading. Councilor Kennis? Yep, need a second or first vote. Deputy Mayor, question, Councilor Derbyshire.
Okay, my question is, I was under the impression that, and I thought we asked for council to go back and bring it back for further review of this. I'll just go with number 5A, the agricultural one, says every owner on whose property livestock are being kept shall prevent the livestock from leaving the property at the time by constructing a perimeter fence or interior enclosure, and the owner shall keep that thing in good repair. So if we go to the fencing act, or the municipal one, right? Or not the municipal, are we overriding the fencing act with this?
Director Huff.
Thank you, Worship. To Councilor Derbyshire. So we're not, the Line Fences Act only simply disputes or deals with disputes about the cost of a fence. It doesn't actually require livestock farmers to fence. It's just if there's a dispute between the two neighbors on the construction or repair of a fence, then the Line Fence Act does get involved, but it doesn't actually require fencing of agricultural plants for livestock purposes.
Right, but this says that the owner of the property shall construct the perimeter fence. The Line Fences Act, it says this half is yours, this is yours, this is yours, and this is yours. It doesn't say that the owner of said land will construct and maintain their section, right? So we are saying that the owner has to do the whole fencing.
Director Huff.
Thank you. I think it would be appropriate that if the farmer wished to petition the adjacent landowner to participate in the cost of constructing the fence, they could continue to do that through the Line Fences Act, or they can be responsible for it themselves under this bylaw. The bylaw simply states there needs to be a perimeter fence. How that gets paid for is up to and subject to the Line Fences Act, if the owner chooses to pursue that.
Councillor Wilsey.
The way I understand the two acts is the Line Fences Act, that has to all be done before a fence is started. So if you're gonna go through the Line Fences Act and figure out who's gonna do and where it's gonna go and who's gonna pay for it, you have to do all of that before construction starts, or the line doesn't get in, or the act doesn't come in. That's where we had one of the issues where we talked about a fence going on our property between a fence on an entrance to a park like a month or two ago. So by this bylaw, they have to build they're in violation of the bylaw, could get a fine while they're waiting to go through the other process and all of that stuff to be figured out, which to Councillor Derbyshire's point, I don't know if that does step on that. Like, this wasn't here when we reviewed it before. We asked for it to come back. And there's still, as a side note, there's still a few different clerical things. Like, it says A5 instead of 5A, so it's different than the rest of the section. It's not a final document. And we have this question.
Okay, is there any other motions, any questions other than that? So we have a second motion, the bylaw 0224 receive first, second, and third, and final reading. All in favor?
Yep.
Sorry, yeah?
Good question. So we could vote no and then make a motion to defer. Correct?
Yes, you can.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can make a motion, then somebody can bring a new motion, correct?
Yeah, but you can't defer it off. Deferral.
It has to happen as an amendment.
Yes, like as in the interim.
Yep.
If you shut it down, then staff would just have to reinitiate it.
So we should make an amendment now.
So we have a second motion. I asked for if anybody wanted to bring a motion, Deputy Mayor. Anyone bring a motion? Councillor Canis.
Well, if there needs to be corrections made to it, then why don't, can we just stop it for tonight and send it back and?
Motion to refer it back to staff.
Yeah, or whatever.
Yep.
Let's just get this thing done and finalized and move forward.
I'm fine with that with the will of council. We have a motion. I'm just waiting for somebody to bring a different motion.
So a motion to defer will?
Yes, it will
Refer
trump
back,
the first motion.
defer and refer back to staff?
Staff.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
I'll second that one.
Okay, Councillor Wilsey.
Sorry, I think Director Huff has.
Sorry to interrupt. If I could get maybe some clarification on, other than the clerical numbering error, if council could provide some direction as to how you wish this bylaw to proceed, that would be helpful to me to know what version of the bylaw to bring back. Or if it's just clerical, I can certainly do that as well.
Councillor Derbyshire.
So on the agricultural side of things, thanks. I think what was asked was, what if somebody just goes and drops their livestock off in the middle of a field with no fence? Was how this came about, right? So to me, what that should say is all fences or all property containing livestock has to have a fence around it. Let's not specify who puts the fence up. Because I feel in saying the owner is responsible for putting the fence up, when you get to the Line Fence Act, that determines who has what sections of said fence. If the owner goes and puts it up, then the owner is the only one responsible, so that takes the Line Fence Act out of it. Whereas if you just say anybody putting livestock in a field or pasture or whatever, pick a word, you're not, right now we're saying that it's the owner who's gonna put up the fence and be responsible for the fence.
Councillor Brennan.
I'm wondering if this will do it then. Would it be then that the owner is responsible for seeing that a fence is constructed under the terms of the Line Fences Act?
Yeah, I
don't know.
So the Line Fences Act doesn't provide any specifications to, it lays out the process for the arbitration of a debate over the cost of the fence. So by referring it to the Line Fences Act, it only speaks to costs, it doesn't speak to any of the other specifications.
Just trying to find a way out.
Yeah. Okay, so through you to the Line Fences Act, right? If you read it, how does it state then that this would be arbitrated out through the cost, right? Do you know?
Yeah, Director Huff.
So Mike, I have a little bit of history with the Line Fences Act, and so it's simply one property owner wants to construct a fence for whatever reason, and petitions through the Line Fences Act, serves the neighbor notice because they've already had a discussion. There's no agreement on sharing costs. You have the fence viewers come, and typically they will say, and it's usually an agricultural type fence, page wired, not board on board, and they will allocate a certain percentage of cost to each of the individuals. And typically it's a scenario where it's typically not in town, it's typically agricultural related, right? And so I'm not aware of and have not received any requests through the Line Fences Act for agricultural fences. On file, there's only one, and it's a more rural, urban-ish kind of issue that the line fences was called. So typically, farmers who have livestock construct the fence before they even have the livestock come to the property. And the purpose of the fence bylaw is to ensure that that's completed. If there's a dispute on cost, certainly one of them can still go through the line fences process to share those costs with the neighbor. The intent is to ensure that the fence is constructed before livestock comes, or ensure that that fence is maintained so livestock doesn't escape. And so there is a small difference between the purpose of this bylaw and the purpose of the Line Fences Act. So I wouldn't also want to compel all fences constructed for livestock purposes to go through the Line Fences Act, because I wouldn't want to impose that cost on all of the adjacent landowners to livestock farmers either. And really the purpose is only where there's a dispute. There's many that can come up with cost sharing amicably, and oftentimes the farmer just pays for the fence to be good neighbors. So
I totally agree with your statement. This is where I'm saying what we've said in here is that the owner of said livestock will put the fence up. All I'm saying is remove that and put, there will be a fence around whatever land is keeping livestock. Does that solve it or no?
So I totally understand where you're coming from. The challenge is that the bylaw is there for a purpose to enforce. And if I don't have an ability to apply that, if there's an issue with it, whom then do I go back to as being responsible for putting that fence? Who would I find? Who would I potentially take to court if they're refusing to house their livestock? If it's not the owner responsible, how will the municipality know who is responsible and go after for in those very rare circumstances?
But that's different. You're now saying who's responsible for keeping the livestock in. So that would be the owner, right? Like.
Yep. Councillor Pelkman, question, yeah.
History.
Okay, so I got two questions. One I'm gonna ask out of ignorance. So if you and I have been farming beside each other for 25 years and the property only has a tree line identifying where the two farms are separate, you decide suddenly I want to have livestock, why the hell should I pay for a fence if you've decided to put livestock?
That's the rules. And normally, most people would pay for the fence themselves. It's not that you run into, where you run into it is, there's a fence there, it's in complete ill repair, right? Somebody buys the property.
Councillors, we need this one's.
So second question is,
We got a motion to defer it.
if we have removed the word owner and somebody has livestock and there's no fence, could you still not charge them because the livestock that they own are not fenced in? It's their livestock, right?
It's in their interest to have them fenced in.
Okay, this debate, we have a motion to defer.
Let's defer it.
Let's refer it back to staff. Let's get this fence bylaw one way or another. So we have a motion to refer. All in favor? Carried. Okay.
Good luck.
It's catch 22.
The next bylaw for consideration this evening is bylaw number 0324, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement for categories of programs and services between the municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc and the Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority. The recommendation this evening is that bylaw number 324 receive first, second, and third and final reading.
Motion bylaw 03-24 receive first, second, third, and final reading. Councillor Hippel, second by Councillor Canis, all in favor? Carried.
Next bylaw for consideration this evening is bylaw number 0424, being a bylaw to appoint a clerk for the corporation of the municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc. The recommendation is that bylaw 0424 receive first, second, and third and final reading.
Bylaw 04-24 receive first, second, third, and final reading. Someone to bring the motion, Councillor Canis, second by Councillor Palmer, all in favor? Carried.
Bylaw number 0524, being a bylaw to provide for interim levies for the year 2024 for the municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc. The recommendation this evening is that bylaw 0524 receive first, second, and third and final reading.
Motion that bylaw 0524 receive first, second, third, and final reading. Councillor Brennan, second by Councillor Canis, all in favor? Carried.
Bylaw number 0624, being a bylaw to establish an asset retirement obligation policy for the municipality. The recommendation this evening is that bylaw 0624 receive first, second, and third and final reading.
Bylaw 06-24 receive first, second, third, and final reading. Motion, Councillor Canis, seconded by Councillor Hippel, all in favor? Carried.
Bylaw number 0824, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2409 and 2612, being a bylaw to regulate enclosures around privately owned pools in the municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc. The recommendation this evening is that bylaw 0824 receive first, second, and third and final reading.
Bylaw 08-24 receive first, second, third, and final reading. Motion, Councillor Canis, second by Councillor Brennan, all in favor? Carried. Oh, did you have a question?
I did. I just wanted to make sure it's only the fees that are changing with this bylaw, nothing else.
That's good, you had the right
Sorry,
name.
that's correct. Only fees. Thank you.
Sorry, Greg, I didn't look over in time.
And the final bylaw for consideration this evening is bylaw number 1024, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of this evening's council meeting for the corporation of the municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc. The recommendation is that bylaw number 1024 receive first, second, third, and final reading.
Bylaw 10-24 receive first, second, third, and final reading. Motion, Councillor Canis, second by the Deputy Mayor, all in favor? Carried. Yep. Motion that the January 15th, 2024 regular council meeting adjourn at 9:39. Councillor Brennan, Councillor Canis, all in favor? Carried. Thank you, folks.
Decision to go.